So, when when did you start wrestling?
My freshman year.
Okay.
So I had no intent of wrestling. I was just like kind of went into freshman year and I was just trying to get stuff done. And I didn't like really care all that much either about school at that point. Like I was just kind of going through it. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And my boyfriend, who he wrestles as well, was like, just come up, be a manager. We need managers. And coming up, and I met the coaches, and our coach Cortez, he's all about like wrestling and girls wrestling, so he never leaves anyone alone about it. Like, so like if you come up, it's like he always asks you. And I remember it was like mid-December, and I finally decided I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I ended up like really liking it. It was fun. And I've never been like a super aggressive person, but it definitely was like interesting to like be able to give that aggression out on the mat. I was definitely really
Okay.
nice when I first started though. Like I've never been like a super aggressive person. I'm an only child, so I've never had like a little brother or sister or older brother or sister to rough around with. So I've always been like super mellow. So it was like weird, like the like whole like fighting with someone almost like.
Yeah.
So and my freshman year we had senior Megan Kazora. She ended up coaching for us last year too for girls. So she, it was funny because we even talk about it now. She was like, "We've babied you so much for your freshman year, trying to get you to go, like looking like at the new girls and stuff. It's so much fun."
Okay. So you start off as a manager.
Yeah.
What was like the thing that just made you try it?
Well, there was another girl that came out and managed as well, and she was like, "Oh, well, I'll try it," and I was like, "Well, I might as well try it too if she's doing it, because then I'm not alone trying it." Because I was like, I had a lot of fun like watching them, and it was really cool. I thought, and I just didn't like, I didn't have the initiative like to go and like want to try it yet, and she was like, "Oh, well, I want to try it," and then I was like, "Well, I mean, if she's trying it, I might as well try it." So then I was like, okay. And then we started off together, but she ended up quitting like halfway through, I think.
Okay, so once you did try it, what was like the thing that just got you kind of hooked on it?
I definitely wasn't super hooked on it right away because also my freshman year was COVID. So we didn't have any tournaments. We didn't have anything. And our first like dual match wasn't until like super late in the season either because we kept just getting postponed and postponed. So there was really nothing like kind of there to be like, oh, like wrestle. I thought it was just a lot of fun. Like the practices were definitely a lot of, really hard, but like I just like those boys up there, like they're like my brothers, they're my family. Like I think that's really what kept me going is the fact that like all the guys up there and like even Megan, like, cause that year it was just me and her. There was no other girls. It was just us two. Cause our senior last year, Jessie, she only wrestled her freshman and her senior year because of her ACL tear. So it was just me and Megan, and so it was just like us together against all the boys. It was a lot of fun though, cause and me and her got like super close because of that. But it was mostly just like the guys and having fun up there. My first match didn't even come until I think like almost January.
Really?
Yeah.
During COVID season, you didn't
Mhm.
have. So, okay, so how does that go then? Are you guys just practicing that
Yeah.
whole time? Like, and just really prepping for
Yeah.
if there's a match?
Yeah. So we still had dual matches, but that year as well, my freshman year I was like 85 pounds, like I was really light, and the smallest girls' weight class was 106. So
So there
Megan,
wasn't any 100s at
mm-mm,
that point still?
yeah, no, my
So you're
freshman
giving
year.
up 21, 22
Yeah,
pounds?
exactly.
Okay.
So even my first match, that girl was a 106, and I was like 85 pounds weighing in that day. Like, but Megan, she had the varsity spot for 106 girls. Technically, there's no like JV or varsity, but she had the spot because, for one, she was actually the weight, and she also was a little bit better than me right then, just a little. Um, and so, but my first match actually was Jessica Burke from uh, Pinnacle.
Okay.
So it's her senior year this year. But so they came in, and we weren't even wrestling their school. They brought her in just because Megan wanted a match because she hadn't wrestled the girl all season. She wrestled a bunch of 106 boys because we didn't have any 106 that year for boys. So she's been wrestling guys all season. So they brought Jessica in to wrestle with her, and they were like, well, we have another girl that's super light. Like, would she be up to like wrestling Megan in the beginning and then wrestling her at the end? So that's what we ended up doing, and then so that was my first match and my only match of my freshman season.
Jeez. So you only get one match, one true match
Yeah.
your freshman season. And okay, so you guys started off with that very small team.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think that? Because you're at a huge school. Like Deer Valley is not a small school
No.
at all. It's a 5A, really big school. So why don't you think you have like a big girls wrestling program like Goldwater or Liberty or Basha or some of these other large schools?
I think it's mostly just because our school definitely has its favorites when it comes to sports. Like it focuses on football, it focuses on basketball, it focuses on like girls volleyball, and they focus on a lot of the big sports. And then with wrestling, we focus a lot on the guys. The girls kind of just get passed over. This year, I think, is our first year that we'll actually get named as our own team. We've always just been like under the boys as a team.
Wait, what do you mean?
So at Deer Valley for wrestling, it's just a co-ed sport like on the books.
Right.
So it was boys and girls, and for like the yearbook and like stuff like that, it's always just wrestling. It's never been like
Boys and
this
girls,
boys
there's
specific
no-
team, the girls specific team. I think if I heard correctly, like they were thinking about making us two separate teams this year for like yearbook and stuff. Because last year we didn't even get a picture in the yearbook. Like all we had
Wow.
all we had was a team photo, which was with all the guys.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay, so yeah, this is these are the types of things that, you know what I mean, we want to change.
Right,
And
exactly.
like brings. So how do you think we do, like, how do we do that?
It's definitely like a lot of just like having to put yourself out there. It's really hard. Like I know, like for me personally, I'm not a very large like. I don't go out of my way to go talk to people, and like our coach is always like, "Go get girls," and I'm like, you know. And I always like, in my opinion, it takes a specific type of person to wrestle and be on that mat.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
especially for girls, not all girls are like that. Like all guys have some sort of aggression to them. Like all girls, not all girls have that. Like it takes a lot to like be on that mat and like keep your composure. Like some girls, they can't handle that, or some girls just like will take it way too far. So it's like I've never been the type to go out of my way to like try to like go get girls, just because like I personally I think it takes a specific type of girl, and like they almost have to find it on their own. I feel like, and that's the other thing is like I only found it because someone like made me come up, but like it was really like it's a process that you take on your own. Like our Megan, she didn't wrestle until her junior year because like she's played like every sport almost, but she was just like I haven't done this, you know, and it was just like a process. But it's definitely I think we need some more recognition out there. Like there's not a lot.
Definitely.
Like at tournaments, it's like you're a girl, so it's like oh you get this one mat and that's all you get for the whole tournament. And oh, you got first, you got second, you got third. Here's your medals in the middle of like the boys wrestling.
Yeah, that's yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that like it bothered me just to watch it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know how hard you all work. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done the practices with Barry Goldwell. It's not fun.
No.
You know, so I know how much work goes into this stuff. I did it back in high school. You know what I mean? So where does okay, so you guys do your own recruiting, right? But where do you think that recognition lies? Like the responsibility for recognition. Where do you think that lies? Like with the school, with the, you know what I mean?
I definitely feel like it's a little bit of the school's responsibility to like kind of like talk about the girls wrestling a little bit more like separately from the boys. Like on days that we have dual matches, like they always say stuff like the after day, like oh we won or la la la. And the other thing is girls matches don't count for points like team wise for dual matches. So we wrestle, but like our matches don't necessarily matter in the books for like when it comes to like our dual matches. Like they're really just for us to go out there. And I feel like if we had kind of like that split between the two teams, kind of where it's like, oh, the girls team did really good. Like they beat this other girls team instead of just kind of us grouping us in with the boys.
Okay.
Because like our points don't matter towards their scores. Like I feel like we almost need that kind of like separation. Like we're still like a team together, but like we need that separation almost just to be like spotlight both. To
Yeah.
give both of us the equal recognition.
Absolutely.
Because there's been so many times that I've wrestled girls and I've beat them, and like we probably, if we would have counted our matches, we probably would have won even more than we did. But it's like you don't get that recognition because they don't think about that.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your sophomore year. Let's talk about.
So I wrestled the hundreds because they finally brought it back last year. I won majority of my matches. The only ones I lost to were Bella. I lost to Amethyst a couple of times. And then there was one girl from Morena that I lost to twice, even though I shouldn't have. I've beat her so many times. I just lost her the first time we met, and then I lost to her like the last time we met. It was not a good way to end.
How do you deal with your losses?
Most of, like, in the beginning of the season, like, I don't know what it was, but the matches they didn't resonate with me a lot. Like, if I lost, like, it didn't bother me so much. And, like, towards the end, they started to bother me a lot more because, like, state and, like, sectionals coming up. Like, in the beginning, they didn't really bother me because I was like, oh, these are just, like, matches. You know, at least I'm getting them in. Because most of the tournaments you go to, like, especially for 100s, like, you get 2 girls at some of these tournaments.
Yeah.
And then you wrestle 1 match or 2 matches and you're done. But definitely towards the end of the season, it was a little hard when you lost. But I try to stay positive. My first match that I really ever got like upset about losing was against a Hamilton girl, the 100 Hamilton girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know really why I got upset about that. I was just kind of like mad that day. And then but I try to stay as positive as I can. Like I definitely I go into like the locker room or the bathroom, wherever they have at the school, and I try to let myself like have a second and like to be mad about it, and then I just am like, okay, next match, you're angry about this last one, just put all your anger into that next match. And that's usually what I do, and then I usually end up like knocking the girl up. Like
that's awesome. So like you use your motivation from
yeah.
that loss in the next matches. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Also giving yourself time to like process
Yeah.
real quick. I think that's very beneficial because like you're acknowledging the loss and then you're like, cool, it's done, let's go.
Right, exactly.
You know, so that's cool. How do you feel about last year? Like personally, how did that? You look back at it now. How did that go?
I think it was a good season. Being like, it really was like my first season that I've actually wrestled. Like thinking about like how much I did my freshman year, like all we did was practice, really. Like there was in state too, like Megan's the only one that went because there's only one girl and they only picked so many girls like out of like the amount that were given, because there was no sectionals my freshman year either. So there was nothing there to like be able to actually go to a tournament and like show what you could do. And that I think that also was like a little bit of the reason why like it took me so long to get into it, is because it wasn't until my sophomore year or like after my freshman season, we started doing like off season, and I was there every practice. I was at everything, and like that's kind of when it clicked. I just like was like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm gonna get good at it. But my sophomore year, I definitely think I did good for like it being my first year almost.
Yeah, you were like the only one to take Amethyst into like deeper rounds.
Yeah.
She literally just annihilates everybody in the first
Yeah.
round. And every single time you went up against her, it's 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Almost every single time.
Yeah.
Like, and they were great matches too, because you guys get it in. It was awesome.
Yeah, Amethyst was definitely like, she was like a roadblock in the road for me, because at sectionals, because the brackets come out like a week or so before, I knew I was going to see her, and because I knew it was either going to be her or Bella. Like, I knew it was going to be one of those two.
Yeah. Which is not great to look forward to when you
Exactly.
see that like one and you're like, oh god.
Yeah, I knew I was going to have to go through both of them, and then I saw it was Amethyst, and there's just, I don't know, there's something about that girl. She's got some sort of aggression, and there's just nothing I can almost do sometimes.
Oh yeah, she's definitely, and
Yeah.
now that she's training out at Fight Ready,
Oh, yeah.
she's training full MMA. Dude,
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So how does MMA does that interest you at all?
I haven't ever thought about that. The first time I thought about that is when I was actually watching your podcast, and like every time you ask them, like that's the first time I've ever thought about it. Maybe later down the line. Definitely, like my goal is for after this year or like my senior year next year, is to hopefully like get some sort of scholarship, go somewhere for wrestling. But if not, I'll probably just stay in state, go to ASU, get my teacher's degree, and then come back and probably teach at Deer Valley and coach there. But
Okay, that. You saved me a question there, but
Yeah.
that was a good segue to all the college stuff. So you already know, you kind of know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Other than like, okay, so let's say a D1 college comes along, with the wrestling scholarship out of state. Would you would you take that?
Oh, yeah.
And go, okay.
So my goal is definitely to wrestle outside, but I know it's not obviously like, it's not something like everyone gets, and I know it's not the end all be all. Like I have other plans. Like in my greatest dreams, I would go wrestle D1, and like have that experience. It'd be so much fun because for the degree I want, I can go anywhere. And
Yeah,
then-
teaching degree, you can get that.
Exactly.
You can get a dope one anywhere.
Right,
so
exactly.
that-
And even just wanting to become a teacher, like I can get scholarships from that anywhere too. So it's like going D1 is definitely like the biggest like hope I have and like the goal. But like if not, like it's not that big of a deal. I still am gonna be part of the program, and I'd love to like even if I was like going through college, if I like went to just like clubs and stuff, because ASU just started their girls wrestling club
Yeah,
too.
they're just dabbling
Right.
with
Yeah.
women's wrestling
Exactly.
right
So
now.
it's like even if I don't end up, if I even go to ASU, I can always walk on, or I could
Yeah,
do the
absolutely.
club and still be a part of the program, and even come back to Deer Valley and be part of that program.
Which is something I think a lot of women should do
Yeah.
after they wrestle at college once they have that high level stuff, because I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of you girls exist right now,
Right.
is because you know what I mean, these other like Ashley Eichner
Yeah.
coming back to Goldwater and training them. I think that's super important because like yeah, men are great coaches and everything, but like not when it comes to women, like
Yeah.
bodies are different, weight is different, it's carried,
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like there's a lot of differences that only I think women could possibly teach,
Oh, yeah.
certain things. So I think that's super important and really cool that you even like that's even an option for
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? Okay, so what are your goals this year?
My goals this year is definitely to go to state because I didn't go last year. But I definitely want to go to state, and I want to place, hopefully get up to that finals match. That's definitely like the dream, being up there in the finals, because I know Bella's going to be up there.
It will be Bella again.
We all know it's going to be Bella.
Unless she goes to 106. She
That is
is
true.
playing with the idea of going up to 106.
Yeah.
So
I think that'd be really cool seeing her and the Sunnyside girl.
yeah, that's what she wants.
That'd be so much fun
Yeah.
to see. Like, I watch both of them, and they're like, that Sunnyside girl is insane, and Bella's insane. Like, that'd be so cool to see. Yeah. But I definitely know Bella's going to be up there. So she's definitely like, and I've gone to Grindhouse, so I've practiced with her.
Okay, so you do go to
Yeah.
Grindhouse.
I went a little bit last season. It's kind of hard because of family, and I have a job. So, like, during right now, I can't really go because I have to work.
What do you do?
I work at McDonald's.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's just a starter job pretty much.
That's the perfect one.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Who cares? Like that's great.
Yeah.
You're being responsible. Like you have your own money. Who cares?
Right, exactly. I've been working since after my sophomore, before my sophomore year. I've been working since that summer. I was
okay.
a lifeguard my summer before my sophomore year, and then I also was a hostess at a restaurant. So I had 2 jobs that summer just because my goal was to get a car, and I did that.
Okay.
So yeah, I ended up buying my car with all my own money, and I registered
go.
it, and I did everything for it, all my money, and like I pay my insurance. So like that's why I had to keep that job, and especially right now because I know season's coming up, it's the most important right now to be like making the money so that during season I can take a break for a little.
See, that's awesome. Like that shows a lot of like thinking ahead and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So that's super cool that you do that. Okay, so let's beyond this season. So let's say you place this season. What about next? What are you looking forward to? Senior year.
My senior year, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm almost dreading it because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't leave the team. Like, the coaches are like parents. Like, the boys are like my brothers. Like, I love that team so much, and like the girls are like my sisters and my best friends. Like, our sophomore this year, Katie, she went to state last year for 65s. She is like my best friend in the whole world after meeting her. Like, I first met her, she was in my math class, and I thought she was annoying as a freshman, and like all of a sudden she came upstairs and we got to know each other, and now she's like my best friend in the whole world. I give her rides to school almost every day.
Isn't that funny how
Like,
things work out like
right,
that?
yeah. Like, she's my best friend in the whole world. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna leave any of them. Like, Elizabeth, she's the other sophomore. She's gonna be a 106 this year. Me and her kind of both like played around in the 100s last year. I had the varsity spot, but she was 100 too. So like it was me and her all day at practice, and I don't know how I'm gonna leave any of these girls like behind. And like even if I like stay in state, like, oh, I'm definitely gonna come back even while I'm in college to like try to help them out. Like,
Expand the team.
yeah, and like those girls are like my sisters. Like, I already know like my senior year is gonna be so emotional, but I know my senior year it's gonna be like Bella's gonna be gone. A lot of girls that I know that are in the higher levels right now that are like seniors are all gonna be gone. So like for what I know, it's gonna be like me and like a couple of the younger girls, and I'm really excited for that. See what like I can do.
That's what's cool about like how every couple years like everyone has their chance to dominate.
Yeah, exactly.
Like so next year, you know what I mean? That would be
Right.
awesome.
Like next year's, I'm hoping is gonna be my year because I know the Hamilton girl last year left because she was a senior. Amethyst is gone last year. Bella is like really one of the other really big girls that she's gonna be leaving next year, and like all the other girls are around the same skill level as me. So it's like I'm excited for my senior year.
You
so
get
I
to
can,
push everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be awesome.
And I get to be the one that everyone's looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone gets to be afraid of you. They're like,
Right.
oh, I gotta go against Edyn.
I know.
That sucks.
My first time I ever wrestled Bella, I didn't even know it was her. And it was so funny because we were at some like really small tournament, and I was like, she hadn't lost a match yet, and neither had I. So that's why we got grouped together. It was one of those where they're like, oh, you two just go.
Oh, okay, that's
so
cool.
So it was really funny because I didn't even know who she was. So there was no like intimidation factor. There was nothing there. And then like I just like went and wrestled my whole heart out. And she ended up beating me in the first round. But like I was like, wow, this girl's good. And then I come off the mat and we wrestled the rest of the day. And we're like leaving. And my coach comes up to me, Coach Alejandro, our head coach. He goes, do you know who that is? And I was like, no. And he was like, that was Bella. She won 106s last year because that was after her first state title. And I was like, oh, well, makes sense why I only lasted the first round with her.
Yeah, she's nationally ranked.
Yeah.
She's a, freestyle champion.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Megan, she wrestled with her senior year. I know they had a really good match. Megan had some riding time on her, like with legs in and stuff. It was a really good match for them. Megan's like, she wishes that she would have went higher up in state because also our freshman year, it was kind of like the state was set up a little weird. Like,
because like everybody went that year, right?
Yeah,
there was no sectionals.
Yeah, exactly. So like there was a lot of people there, so there was a lot of people to get through, and like she ended up losing to the Hamilton girl, I believe. Like the I think it was like one of the Hamilton girls. I think she was younger, but she ended up losing to her, I think, twice. Because that was the other thing is like in the constellation rounds, like you kept meeting up with the same people, and that's
okay.
So, and also, like, the freshman year, there was, like, the buybacks to where, like, if your person lost, like, you would get back in, or if your person won, you would get back in or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, there was, like, a whole, like, weird system that year. So it was, like, she ended up kind of just getting a little messed over.
Okay.
Because I think if her person would have ended up winning, like, their next match, she would have been able to, like, continue. But it was just, like, so she was, like, if senior year for her was normal, she probably would have been right up there with Bella. Like, we all know it. And she wishes that she would have had that chance, which is why I think she came back, because she got super close with us. She's actually in the Air Force now, so she won't be coaching for us this year, but she's just got transferred. She was just here, like, this week, so we got to say hi to her before the season starts.
That's awesome.
It was insane to wrestle with her because I haven't seen her in, like, 6 months or something like that since, like, the end of last season. So it was crazy to wrestle with her, and it was funny. We were wrestling at one point, and I, like, got her on her back. And our coach Alejandro just starts yelling, we got a new dog in the house, and it was so funny.
Nice. So how do we expand your team specifically, the Deer Valley team? What do you think the best way to go about expanding that team is?
I think it just needs a lot more recognition, like, in the actual school, because you talk to anyone, boys or girls, about the sport, and, like, there's always that conception around the sport that it's, like, oh, like, it's weird, or, like, oh, like, everyone loves to say that wrestling is, like, gay, and it's ridiculous. And it's like, I get it, like, for some people that
I get it.
Yeah, it's like for some people that have never watched it and like all they know is like the things that they see on TV, like the stuff that is like really like just like portrayed like wrong,
right?
It just doesn't look like how it is, like. But I'm like, my freshman year, like, it was crazy because like I never thought I would wrestle, and then like watching these guys, like I thought it was insane to think that like I never could do any of that. I was like, nope. And now, like, just, like, watching them, like, I love watching some of our higher-level boys, like, watching, like, the throws and just, like, the technique that goes into it. It's not anything what people thinks. And I think that's what it is our school is very closed-minded about it, that's for sure. Like,
okay.
You try to talk to anyone about it, and they kind of are like, nope. They're like, no.
I don't think most people realize that it's human chess.
Yeah.
It is literally, it's human chess, because the slightest move shift in weight or the slightest spin, like, changes the entire match, right? It changes, like, who has leverage. It changes everything. Like, you can't be stupid. Like, there are no stupid wrestlers. I don't think people, like, understand that. Like, you can't be a dummy because you're always having to think and readjust. And this, if someone just moves slightly this way, that could throw off your entire game. Now you got to switch up what you're going to do, where you're going to go. You know what I mean? So I think you're right. There's a lot of misconceptions about the sport in general that should be cleared up. But, like, yeah, I mean, I think I just find it so crazy that you guys have such a small team for such a big school. That seems really weird to me because I feel like you guys are like the same size as Liberty and Goldwater.
Yeah.
Like easily, if not possibly bigger with more students. I don't know. I'd have to actually look, but for you guys only have like 4 girls.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like right now we only have 2 that are actually practicing, or well, 3 some days. One of our girl does swim. The other one was in badminton this season, and then we just got one of our new girls who's my year. She just started wrestling with us, so she's only been there for like a couple weeks, and then it's just been me and Elizabeth. That's all it's been. And I love Elizabeth to death, but she needs to get her head in sometimes. Sometimes I want to.
Did you do any other sports? Have you done any other sport? This is your only sport?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So in middle school, I ran a little, so I did cross country and track both years in middle school. But just coming into high school, I was like, I'm not that much of a runner. I just did it because I thought it'd be good, and I'm just not that much of a runner now. Looking back at it, I was like, why did I ever do that? Like,
are there any other sports that even interest you right now?
not really. My coach has said a lot about like doing softball, which I've thought about, but I'm not.
The look on your face does not look
Yeah.
like you want to play softball.
No, my hand-eye coordination is not that great when it comes to like catching and like throwing balls.
What?
No, it's not. I don't know what it is. Like for wrestling, like you'd think it'd be really good because you
Yeah.
have to be like super like I like every once in a while maybe, but I can't play softball where it's like all you're doing is sitting there and catching something. Like I would miss it so many times.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we play a game upstairs. It's called wall ball, and like even that, it's like with a giant volleyball, and I can barely catch that. So it's really funny. But it's like with wrestling, you'd think you'd be good at it because there's a lot that goes into that type of stuff. But it's like I've never been good at that though. I've never been able to like really catch like or really throw that well.
Okay. What advice would you give to some little 8th grade girl who's coming into high school next year? She's thinking about a sport. Like, what kind of advice would you give them?
Definitely to consider wrestling, because talking to some of the other kids that are on other sports, like everyone talks about how their team's like a family, but like when you really put them side to side, wrestling is like one of our only sports at school that goes almost all year round. Like we practice after state, before state, during the season, after season, preseason, in the beginning of school. Like we started like that second week of school. Like we've been going since August. And over summer, like we went to a bunch of like open mats and stuff. We're going to an off-season tournament next weekend. Like it's one of those things where it's like you're around these people like 7 days out of the week. And like these kids actually become your family. Like there's so many boys on the team that like I would trust with my life. Like that I know that
That's awesome.
You know, like
Yeah.
and I know that they think the same, and like we all care about each other.
Because you know not all wrestling teams are like that, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I've seen some that are like completely disregard the girls, you know?
Yeah.
It's insane to me, like to think about like how some guys, like even at like some of the places that I've gone to, it's like you'll try to wrestle a guy and they completely just like ignore you sometimes, and you're like, okay, that's cool, I guess. But like it's definitely like our team is like the biggest family on campus. Like you could see one of us in the hallway, and if we're on the same team, like there's no like we don't not talk to each other. Like some teams like, oh, we're only friends upstairs. Like
Right.
no, we're friends 24 hours out of the day. Like if I see any of the guys in the hallway, like it's always a hi or a hey. And then I have a lot of classes with some of them because like you said about us being smart, like most of the kids on our teams are in honors, AP, dual classes. So I have a lot of the same classes with them. Like my best friend actually, like for one of the guys, is Alex. He's on our team, and we have like, even if our classes aren't together, we have the same schedule practically for like classes, other than like 1 or 2. And it's like he's like my best friend. Like I literally, that kid could like save my life one day, and it would be just like another day. Like it's crazy how close you get with some of those guys upstairs. And like I don't know what it is sometimes about like other sports or like just like in general, like with wrestling with like girls, we just get looked down upon so much, and it's insane because half the guys upstairs, it's like if you were my weight, I would be throwing you across the room. Like the only reason some of these guys beat me is because they got 20 pounds on me.
Right. Why do you think that is? That girl are just kind of looked down. Just personally, what do you think? Theorize that you think it's just kind of an old way of thinking,
Yeah.
or it's like people don't expect women to be entertaining in combat sports? Because I could tell I think women are probably more entertaining when it comes
Yeah.
to combat sports.
We're a lot meaner.
It's
I'll say that we're a lot meaner. Like I've watched some girls,
but it's all on the
and
mat though.
it is because I
That's
could be super friendly with any girl off the mat, depending on the circumstances. Like definitely like upstairs being with a bunch of guys, like it's a little different because we don't have as much of a girl presence. So definitely I feel a little bit less like nice to some of my opponents, just because like with some of the guys it's like you're around the guys all day and it's like all they think of is like they're your opponent. So it kind of like you kind of like rub off on you. But like for the most part, like if I like after a match, like if there's no other like circumstances, like I can usually be like super nice, like, and it doesn't really bother me, like, cause I've had like girls from Yuma that have been like try to super friendly with me, and it's like it's kind of weird, cause like being with the guys, like they're always like, oh, he's your opponent, or like, oh, she's your opponent, like don't be talking to them, and it's definitely like I think that a little bit, but like definitely sometimes after the match, it's like I can be friends, like Bella, like me and her are cool. Like I've gone to Grindhouse, we've drilled together. Like we're definitely like in no way like friends, and like we've never like really talked. But like I don't like go to grind like
You're
when
friendly
I,
acquaintances.
Yeah, when I went to Grindhouse, my thought wasn't, oh, this is my competition. Like
You're
I
not
need
spitting on each other.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a drill. We were drilling together.
Right.
We were partners. Like in that instant, we were on the same team almost. Like we're in the same room.
And you guys can learn from each other.
Right, exactly. Like it was crazy wrestling with her. Like learning, I learned a lot from Grindhouse, especially like wrestling with like her and some of the other girls. And I also wrestled with the what's their names?
The twins?
No, not the twins from Liberty. The two girls, I can't think of their names now.
The Garcias?
Maybe.
Gabriella and
They
or was
both-
it the Pastoras sisters?
Yeah, Pastoras.
Those two, okay.
I wrestled with both of them, and
Really? How'd that go?
That was definitely a day. Like I was getting thrown all over, because especially like I went during freestyle too, so it was definitely a lot of new stuff. Like I have never wrestled freestyle until I went there, so I was definitely out of my element. We were doing I can't think of anything today. We were doing like a throw, and I was getting thrown all over the room that day. Like there was nothing I could really do against those girls, but it was just like an experience to wrestle with them. Like, and I didn't even know like really who they were before. And then my friend Alex, who goes to Grindhouse too, he was like, "You know who they are, right?" And I was like, "No, should I?" He was like, "Yeah, they're both like nationally ranked.
Yeah, the older
You
one's
know?
like number one.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like number one in the
exactly.
nation. So
As soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, that makes sense why
Yeah.
I was like sucking today. Then it wasn't even really
You weren't
me.
sucking,
It
it
wasn't
was
even
just-
me.
yeah.
It was them, you know. But it's like it just going to places like that. Like you learn from all the girls, like, cause going to open mats, you see all the same girls, like to the point where it's like I could talk to some of these girls because I've gone to like the same open mats with them and stuff. So it's like it's just crazy to think of. But some of the guys, yeah, they're definitely very like, oh, you're my competition. Like there's no reason for me to be nice to you. And I think it gets rubbed off a little bit just because like upstairs, especially right now, we don't have a girls coach. We only have guys.
Okay.
So it's definitely like a different mentality. It's like upstairs, it kind of feels like we're still girls trying to play a guy's sport because we only have
Okay.
that kind of male influence.
right.
And it's definitely different. Like thinking about moves and stuff, sometimes it's a lot different, like the way we move. And like the way they try to explain stuff sometimes doesn't work. And it feels like we have to like, sometimes it feels like we're going through hoops, trying to figure things out.
Okay.
Because it is
That makes
definitely,
sense.
it's definitely a lot different. Because when Megan was up there all the time, like it was so much like easier to understand being able to go with her. Because it's not, like even her, she's been like 20 pounds over me since she's graduated.
Right.
But like the difference between like her weight and like our other 120 on the team, like it's a lot different. Like he feels so much heavier than she does, and
Yeah.
it's like so it's
Different
nice
centers
having
of gravity.
right exactly. It's really nice having that girl there, like as a coach, to be able to do that, which is why I want to come back, because I don't ever want it to be like that where it's like, oh, you know, like what am I supposed to do? Like there's no girls for me to be here, because my sophomore year Megan was doing track and stuff, so she wasn't up there. So when I actually like got into it and like I went after it, I was with boys that were like 120 and above, like, and that's all I had at practice. Like there was no small guys, like, and that's all I had. And like so I just want to be there for like these younger girls and stuff, like, and it's definitely one of those things where it's like you'll learn a lot. And like my confidence from this is like it's gotten boosted a lot more, just because I think it's also like a very confident sport.
Okay,
Like,
what have you noticed in just like physically, mentally, all of in yourself personally? What have you noticed change since freshman year to now?
definitely mentally, I've noticed a very large change. Like my freshman year, I could not care at all, like what was going on like around me. Like I was kind of in a rut, and I think the team really like got me out of that. Like something to do, cause sports just like they boost like everything in your body. Like they make you happier. So I think that definitely was an impact that it had on me mentally. Was like it kind of got me out of this like weird space I was in, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, if you would have asked me in my freshman year, like, oh, like, what do you want to do when you graduate? I would have told you that I didn't want to go to college. I would have told you that I wanted to just go to,
Really?
like, cosmetology school and, like,
Hey, I went to cosmetology
yeah,
school after
nothing
high school.
against
No.
it, but you know what I
But I
mean?
did
Like,
go to college afterwards, but yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
would have told you, like, oh, I don't want to go to college. Like, if I go, I'll go to a community college and just get my associates. Like, that's what I would have told you. But, like, wrestling, like, it
That's crazy
gave
because
me a
now
whole
you know
different perspective.
exactly what you want to
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean, where you want to go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
attribute all of that to wrestling?
Yeah, I definitely think it was that, because there was really a switch. Like, as soon as I was on that team, like, there was a switch in, like, my mood, my personality, and, like, physically, like, you just feel so much better. Like, definitely, like, I feel so much more, like, active. I feel, like, a lot stronger, because I also do, like, weightlifting with the school, and then I go do weightlifting outside of school to get that strength up, since I am a little bit of smaller, on the smaller side compared to some of these other girls that are dropping from, like, 110. You know, like
Yeah,
sometimes.
they're dumping 15 pounds to go
Right.
down to 100.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like sitting here at my weight. So I'm trying a lot of like strength stuff, because they tend to be stronger when they come down from those like higher weights. So I've put a lot of work into like myself physically and mentally to like get myself where I'm at. And like that's the thing is like with wrestling, it's not one of those sports where you can just be there during the season and
Yep.
leave and then come back. Like for the kids that do other sports, like it's totally like acceptable. But if you're not doing anything and you just think you can come to wrestling like during the
Yeah, you can't lay on the couch for 6 months.
Yeah,
and
and,
then
like,
try to
you-
get in the wrestling room.
oh yeah, like even being up there like all year round almost, I am struggling by the end of practice still. Like our last year, our first practice, they made us, so we do runs before, so our first practice, they made us do 6 laps on the track plus bleachers on both sides. And like I had been there all through preseason, and I was still dying with the rest of the new kids. Like it's not one of those sports where you can just be there from November to February. Like you're there from January to December, year round, like all year round. If you like don't have anything else going on, like other sports wise, because if you're not, then you're just moving. You're just not going anywhere, in my opinion. Like, and I say that
Absolutely.
to a lot of the girls. Like I try to say that to them, and I'm like, if you want to get better and you want to like be like better, and you like, I obviously know these girls do. I tell them like you have to be here all the time. Like you see how much work I put in, and like I'm still getting beat up by some of these other girls. You know,
Right.
like it's like you have to put that work in, like, cause I'm there every day. Like, cause we only have practice 2 days a week though, but like I don't think I've ever missed a practice. So I'm like the most dedicated person ever. Like I show up everything 30 minutes early. Like practice starts at 3, I'm there at like 2:30. Like tournaments, they're like, oh, get here at 4 in the morning. I'm there at 3:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
you showed up here early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just that type of person. Like I've never liked being late. And to me, like if you're on time, you're late.
That's from the
And-
Air Force.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we
and
go
I'm
by.
like I'm such a freak about that type of stuff. Like I'm 30 minutes early to everything. Like I can't stand being like even like a little bit closer. Like I have to be early to everything.
Where does that come from?
I don't know really, cause when I was younger, I don't think my mom definitely isn't like that, and I think that might have been what it was. I think it's like a pet
You were
peeve.
sick of your mom being late all the time, so
It's
you
a pet
decided you
peeve.
weren't gonna be.
It's a pet peeve for sure. Like I always hated it when I was younger. Like I hated being late to stuff. And my mom, like we're never like late, but she's definitely like, oh, we'll be there on time. And it's like, no, I want to be there early because I want to like in case something happens. Like
Right.
that's my thought about it. Is like, what if I'm driving to practice one day and there's an accident in front of me? Like, and if I left 5 minutes later, then I'd probably be late to practice. Like that's how I think about everything. Like if I'm going anywhere, it's like what's gonna happen. Like I'm very much that type of person. Like I plan very far ahead. Like even this, like I've been thinking about it all week. Like what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? Like I'm very much a pre-planned person, and like that's why I think that's why I do it is like I just like everything being very like controlled because I'm also that kind of person. I like a lot of things to like have a controlled environment.
That's good.
And it's like if it's not, I get so stressed out. Like I can't stand it. Drives me up the wall.
That's awesome. Dude, this was awesome that you came here, and I appreciate it. You
Yeah,
gonna
of
let me
course.
come out to Deer Valley and shoot with you guys?
Yeah, of course.
Like you guys, you got to figure out a reason for me to come out there.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
want to shoot everywhere, but I definitely want to come out and see.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'll
I'll
come
definitely
shoot
talk
you.
to the coaches
Yeah,
because
that'd be awesome.
Coach Alejandro, he's been in the like game for a long time. Like he's from Ohio, so it's very big up there for wrestling.
Oh
and
yeah,
then-
Ohio State is like
Yeah.
the wrestling college.
Exactly. But so he ended up moving down here his senior year, and he actually went to Deer Valley, but he didn't end up wrestling just because of like stuff going on. And then, but so ever since then, he's coached. He's done that. Like his daughters wrestled, were female wrestlers. His nieces, even a teacher at my school was a wrestler of his, and I never knew that until like recently over summer. And I
Nice.
was like, that's crazy. I was like, never would have thought that, you know. And like he's taken these girls to nationals. He's taken them everywhere. Like he's done so much for the program. Like he'd love to have like someone out there to like really showcase what we're doing.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to
of
come,
course.
and we'll come do an update with you
Yeah,
in the
of
room,
course.
like we did with Bella and
Oh
everything.
yeah, I saw that.
So
That
that'll
looked
be
cool.
dope. Yeah, and what are you excited about? What is the number one thing you're excited about this season?
I'm excited to be back in competition. I've missed it so much. Like over summer, we didn't really have practices, so the only practice we had was going to open mats. I was probably bothering my coach so much about it. Like he probably wanted me to stop texting him by the end of the summer because I was always like, "Why aren't we doing practices? Come on, coach! Like I want to do practices." And he was like, "No, because no one likes to show up to things either. Like that's a really bad thing about right now. No one wants to show up to things. Like, and I think we have a little bit of an issue with that upstairs with some of the younger kids. Like, no one wants to show up, and that's the other thing I try to tell people is like, dude, showing up is what's making you. Like,
it's 90% of everything you
Right.
do is just showing up
Exactly.
and being there.
And like showing up is what makes you the wrestler that you're gonna become. And that's what I say to them like after almost every practice right now. It's like, do you want to be the kid that everyone's looking up to it when we start practice, or do you want to be the kid that everyone's like, oh, look at this kid, like he didn't put in the work, you know? Like, and I just say that like I'm always that type of person that like I want to practice, but no one wants to show up. So it's like we can't have practices with just one person.
Yeah.
So, but like I'm really excited for that. Like I'm excited to be back in like the competition wise for that, and then I'm excited for sectionals in state this year because it's gonna be me and Bella, the Desert Ridge and Willow Canyon, and Goldwater. But I don't think Goldwater is getting a girl my size this year. Based
They-
on
they
what
don't
yeah,
yet.
not yet at least.
Yeah, they don't have a 100 yet.
So for the
it's-
most part is like
It's definitely, I think it's going to be you and Bella at
Yeah.
state, and I think I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm very
Like,
excited about it too, cause every other girl at sectionals I blew right through. Like other than Amethyst, like Willow Canyon girl I've beat like a handful of times. The Saturday Ridge girl I've never seen before, but I got through her. Like I blew through like a lot of those girls up there, but so I'm excited for like that head to head this year. Like
Yeah,
that,
it's gonna be
that true
great.
competition, and like I'm excited for our first tournament that I'll be there this year. Because actually, right at like the beginning of the season, like when we first start our matches, I'm gonna be in Nebraska for like 10 days, but I'm gonna be training with the school up there.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Really?
So I'm gonna be in this like really small town, Shadron. They have like it's like one school district. Like that's how small it is. It's like,
Wow.
and they have like one website for like the high school, the college, the elementary school. Like it's a really
It's all
small,
one building?
yeah, pretty much at that point. But it's a really small town, but I'm really excited because I've like looked them up, and they have a like up there in like the Midwest, they have like they are all about wrestling.
Yeah,
like,
the
Nebraska
Midwest
State,
is where
like,
wrestling.
yeah, Nebraska
dominates.
State and stuff. So I'm really excited because I've seen that like, they had a 45 girl like went to like I think she went to Fargo because she wrestled for Nebraska, I think in Fargo. But like she's super good, so I'm excited to go up there and like, you know, like soak in all that talent.
Yeah,
you
that would
know?
be really cool.
I'm excited for that. And then pretty much like that week I get back, we have our second dual match, I think. And then we also have our first tournament, which was my first tournament I placed at last year. So I placed
Nice.
third last year, and I should have been in the finals last year. There was just a little bit of hiccup there, but I'm winning that thing this year. So
That's what I like to
I'm
hear.
excited for that because I'm going to come back from going and training for 10 days straight pretty much up in the Midwest, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to have that first match because I'm missing our first match, which I'm kind of sad about, but I'll be there for the first match, second match, for my first match, and then I'll be able to go to that tournament, and I'm excited to like blow through everyone.
Hell yeah. Okay, dope. I'm super excited. So we'll do another one of these after
Yeah.
the season starts. I definitely want to see what you did out in Nebraska.
Oh yeah,
So
for
then
sure.
we'll definitely talk again, and I definitely think you're going to be at least state ranked this year.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
We're hoping
So,
for it.
Hell yeah, let's go.